Good morning. Happy Monday. This is what, the ninth day? Is that right? Yeah, this is the ninth of May. And this is episode one of season four of the Be Your Own Hero show. Starting a new season today. Starting a new season on this Monday. And by the way, let me show you the new cover art in case you didn't get a good look at it. That's me finishing my first half marathon. This photo makes me laugh hysterically all the time because I am inches away from the finish line. And as you can see, I am very distracted. I have no idea that I'm about to cross the finish line. No idea. Not until they handed me a medal did I know that I had crossed the finish line. Hilarious. Hilarious. Don't even get me started on the whole reticular activating system. I won't go down the rabbit hole yet, but that photo is going to be the photo for season four. Anyway, welcome back. Welcome back. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I had a really interesting weekend. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. And let me just say this early. I don't know. I have a few ideas about the theme for season four, but I haven't really decided yet. So I want to put it out there and ask you what the show should be about for season four. Now, I reserve veto ability. Like, don't say anything crazy because I'll be like, no. I'm not doing a season about the Hulk. Everybody keeps bringing up the Hulk from season one with Smoothie King. No, we're not doing that. But you got some ideas for things that you want to see on the show, things that you want me to talk about this season. Let's do it. Let's talk about it. Let me know so we can make it work for everybody. Well, I guess not everybody, but we can make it work for most of us. Like, I still want to talk about abundance and wealth, but I'm curious to see what's working for people, what's not working for people, what people want more of, etc. So drop it in the chat. Let me know. We're going to do this all week. All week I'm soliciting advice about what this season should be about. So be ready. I know you weren't ready today, but drop it in the chat if you've been thinking about it. If not, drop it in the chat the rest of the week. Okay, so that said, here we are on the first episode of season four, and there's a couple things I need to talk about in general. So today is day 343 of my run streak, and a couple interesting things happened over the weekend. I got to tell you how many miles I've run since June, meaning the cumulative miles for the run streak thus far, because I hit a huge milestone on Saturday. So once again, I've been running every single consecutive day since the first day of June 2021. I've been running at least a mile every day since the first day of June 2021. This is now day 343. I'm getting close to day 365. And over the weekend, I hit the grand total of run miles of 1,000 miles. 1,000 miles. Even saying it out loud, it just shocks me. 1,000 miles. And I remember at some point early on, I was thinking, I wonder if one day I could get to 1,000 miles. I don't even think I was thinking of it happening within this run streak. But here we are. We're over the 1,000 mile barrier. I guess it was a barrier in my mind, but we're past that now. Now I'm like, 102, 103, somewhere around there, but past 1,000 miles. So that was big news for me over the weekend. I got to get a T-shirt made or something. I don't even know how many miles it's going to be by the time we get to day 365. Okay, so that said, let's get into the charity run component. The charity run component. So as you know, we've been raising money for Brown Boys Read. If you're just joining the show, my run streak is also a charity run, and I've had several iterations of charity run goals within my run streak. And that's the way I've moved the run streak along, by having different missions. So the most recent mission was to raise $1,000 for Brown Boys Read. And it was so exciting. It was so exciting. One of the most exciting missions we've had thus far. The run streak was co-signed by Anna Grace Owen, and I'm trying to figure out how to explain. So she and I were in the half marathon training together. We were in the same run group, the 2:15 group, meaning we wanted to finish the half marathon in 2 hours and 15 minutes. And we were also in that group with Antoine, who you heard me talk a lot about. Antoine was the person who inspired me to start a run streak. The two of us have inspired her to start a run streak, and it continues on. So she did a post about my charity run, specifically about Brown Boys Read, and it took off. She's got a lot of followers, and she got a lot of engagement, and the donations were coming in left and right, left and right, left and right, left and right. And then Simone closed the gap. She just finished it off all by herself. She just took it upon herself to close out the charity run. And I left the polls open. I said, as Rev Mel says, I said, we're in the overflow now. So if anybody wants to continue to contribute, please do. So as of right now, we are at $1,065 of an original $1,000 goal. So I'm going to close it out today and get that money over to Demetrius Short. You remember Demetrius is the captain of Black Men Run Nashville. He's also the creator of the Brown Boys Read program. And just a reminder, the Brown Boys Read program teaches young Black men not only about literacy, but also about running. I've never seen visually that sight before of a group of young Black men running together. And they were running a 5K. So that's 3.1 miles. And he builds them up to that. They start off with, a block and then another block, another block. He builds them up to a 5K. So imagine having your first 5K under your belt when you're like 12 years old. Imagine what that opens up for you in terms of the future in the world. Anyway, very excited to have completed that mission. On to the next mission. All right, shout out to the people in the chat. Shout out to Linda. Shout out to Gladys. Shout out to Simone. There she is. Simone, the woman that closed the gap for us. Appreciate you closing it out from Florida, right? You're in Florida. You're on vacation. Still closing out the run streak. All right. So that said, let's talk about the dice roll challenge. I said talk about it because, again, I just want to make sure that this is working for folks. This is a very effective way of setting aside some money to invest, but I want to make sure people are doing it. Don't just have me up here talking about it if nobody's doing it. I know Rev Melissa's doing it. Rev Melissa will text me during the week and be like, what's the number for today? And Fee King, too, she also wants to know, what's the number? I know they're doing it, but who else is still doing the dice roll challenge? I'm going to roll the dice, but I just want to know that we're doing this together. All right. So that said, let's start off the week with a dice roll. Here we go. It fell, landed on $6. $6. That's the maximum that you can set aside on this current iteration of the dice roll challenge. So $6, you're going to take $6 out of circulation, move that into an account that you've set up for investing, a Roth IRA, a jar, what have you. Okay, I'm having a thought. Okay, so yeah, you want to take the money out of circulation, but also you want to flip a switch in your mind that keeps it out of circulation. In other words, once you move it, it's got to be invisible to you. You can't touch it again. Well, obviously you can touch it again, but you shouldn't touch it again because the way the stock market is set up is it rewards patience and it rewards longevity. So if you're going to invest in the stock market, you got to just leave it in there and let it grow. So think about it. The way I've been thinking about it is, this is for the version of you 10 years from now. 10 years from now, you're setting yourself up for success. But if you set this money aside and then you use it for something for now, and I definitely understand. We got bills. we got bills. But if you use the money for bills now, then you have to start over. Like even if you replace the money, you have started the clock all the way over from zero. Now I know because I've done this, and it's not the way to go. It's not the way to go. So I'm speaking from experience. Like first of all, when you take the money out, at least speaking for me, my idea of how soon I was going to put the money back was different than how soon I actually put the money back. So there's that. But also, again, the clock, you've stopped the clock because the money compounds upon itself. So the longer you leave it alone, the better it does. And when you take the money out, I've said it already, but I just want to make sure everybody's clear. When you take it out, you have to start that process all over again. And so basically, you've pushed your timeline out by a few years. Okay, so I'm getting some questions popping in. Let's do it. Oh, great. Linda's still doing the dice roll challenge. I hope, Linda, that you're using the dice roll money to buy more shares of AT&T. I'm very excited about this AT&T project. For those of you just joining us, I figured out that if you have 21 shares of AT&T, it should buy you another share of AT&T by itself on autopilot for time infinitum. You know what I'm trying to say. Ad infinitum? I can't think of it right now. But in perpetuity, it'll keep buying more and more shares and more shares, because 21 shares, each pays you $1 per share per year. So that's $21. But the share price is only 19 or 20 bucks. So if the DRIP is on, the dividend reinvestment plan is on, it will buy you another share. I'm very excited about that. So Linda, I hope you're going to do that project. I am. That's one of my projects. I'm going to get 21 shares of AT&T and just sit there and watch it grow over years and years and years. And again, if you take it out, you got to start from scratch. All right, moving on. Gladys is asking, should you move these amounts from your checking account directly into an investment account? Yes. So what I'm suggesting is the Roth IRA. I just got my first Roth just a couple weeks ago. I've been talking about it on the show. And what I like about it for artists like me and you, Gladys, what I like about it is that it gives a clear deadline and a clear goal. And so the world of investing is vast, and the world of stock markets is vast. And so sometimes it's like, what do I do? Right? But if you've got a Roth, you've got two specific things. You've got a dollar amount goal and you've got a deadline goal. So you get a Roth IRA, you can open it with a zero balance. I opened mine with TD Ameritrade, and it took not even 5 minutes. So you can open it with a zero balance, and then it tells you you'll have either $6,000 or $7,000 to put into it by the end of the year. What I mean by that is that's the maximum that you can put into it. Like, you can put in less, but that's the max. So flip the switch in your mind automatically to the goal is $6,000 by December 31st. That's the goal. And then that gives you something to push for and push for and push for. And because it's a big goal, it'll push you to invest more. Because often when we invest, we kind of do it with twos and fews, like $10 here, $20 there. No, if you're going to get to 6,000, you got to put some weight into it. So there's that. There's also a penalty for taking it out. There's a penalty for taking it out before 5 years or before 59 years old. And it doesn't. If you're over 59, then it's 5 years. Or it's like whichever comes first. Like, even if you're over 59 and you open a Roth IRA, you still can't get the money out without a penalty unless it's been in for at least 5 years. You can get out your initial investment, but don't do that. Let's not even talk about getting out your initial investment. The point is there's a penalty for taking the money out. So that's the third thing I like about it, because once you put it in there, it forces you to think of it as the stove is hot. Don't touch it. Leave the money in there. So imagine you open a Roth IRA this year, and hopefully you have it fully funded by the end of the year. You're coming into January with $6,000 to invest. That's fantastic. And the way the Roth works is you can invest into different assets within the Roth bucket. So in other words, you can't transfer, like, let's say AT&T stock. If you already have AT&T stock, you can't transfer that position into the Roth. But the Roth serves as a bucket. Once you've got money in it, any amount of money, you can buy assets within the Roth, and it'll appreciate value within the Roth itself. So the way I'm thinking about it is the money goal first. Like, aim for $6,000, get the $6,000, and then once you got the $6,000, then decide what to do with it. Right? If you're going to buy index funds or buy a bunch of AT&T stock and let it just buy more shares of itself. You've got lots of options. But the point is, again, clear deadline, clear goal, penalty for withdrawal. So So that's what I'm focused on for artists, I think, and retirees. I think that's a good play. Never mind the thing about the age. The Roth IRA can be used by any person of any age, but that penalty will keep you from putting your fingers on it and using it for something now, because there's this very clear demarcation between now money and future money. If you spend too much money on now money, you don't have enough left over for future money, and the future money is what really changes your financial circumstances. Because let's face it, we've all paid our bills before, right? But has it changed our financial circumstances? No. So we've got to do something different to change our financial circumstances. And that's investing for future you consistently, persistently. All right. Okay, sorry, I'm reading Linda's message. I got nervous about investments last week. Stock market plunges impact my overall investments. I typically had to really work to remind myself. Yes. So I'm glad we're all talking about this together. Maybe season 4 is going to be more chatty, more reactive. But yeah, it's so important to remind ourselves, me too, that this is a long-term play. Had a friend of mine hit me up. We were talking about the stock market, and I told him about AMC. AMC movie theater went down to almost zero during the early part of the pandemic because obviously no one was going to the movies, right? And so I bought a little bit when it was really low. And then, of course, it didn't close and it opened up. The movie theaters opened up and the stock came back up. So I told him this story, and he was like, well, why didn't you tell me about it? And I was like, well, first of all, I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble. I'm just trying to figure it out for myself. But also, because he said that, I told him about another stock. I don't even remember what it was now. But he's been texting me about it a lot, like, it's down today, it's down again. I'm like, okay. It's a mindset shift. Like, for him, it was easy to say, oh, why didn't you tell me about AMC? But that's hindsight. It's all done. It was already at $1, $2. Now it's back up. But when it's at $1, $2, you got to have the mindset to believe in the long term, because the stock market is a long-term play. That said, I've said this a few times, it is a single game that can be played multiple ways, millions of different ways, which is not something I realized before. So one of the ways you can play the stock market is buy and hold long term. And that means you're not even thinking about what the market is doing until 3 to 5 years from now. And that's conservative. 3 to 5 years. Like, you should be thinking minimum, I'm going to buy the stock. I'm not even going to worry about what the fluctuations are until 3 years from now. So that'll just keep it off your mind. I'm also not going to cash out until 3 years from now, because if I do, I'm adding another 3 years. I got to start over from scratch, right? But long-term play. Now, that does not apply to trading, because trading, what I've discovered for myself and for some other people, is when we're investing in the stock market, what we're really thinking about is trading. But those are two entirely different things. Trading is fast. You can make 5% in a day in trading, but that's very different than buy and hold investing. So what I'm doing is building, what did I call it recently? A base coat, like a base coat of paint, right? So I actually close some of my positions that are more speculative and put them into quote unquote safer properties like index funds to build a base coat. And then later on, I'll start buying speculative things. But the idea is buy and hold long term. So if you look at, let's say, Netflix, I'm going to move on from this. But if you look at Netflix, there was a point at which Netflix dropped by 80 or 90%. And so most of the people that had Netflix sold. They got scared. But since then, it's gone up 30,000%. 30,000%. So if you believe in the company, and we've talked about this before too, don't try to figure out who's going to win. Bet on the sure things, the big companies like the FANG stocks, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. Yeah, they're all down, but they're huge. They're huge companies. So even if you don't watch the news, if something happens with those 5 companies, you're going to hear about it. You'll have time to react. But the likelihood that something is going to happen to these companies is slim because they're spending their significant resources to make sure that nothing happens to them. These are all multiple $10 billion companies. All right, so what's my point there? My point is bet on the big companies that you already know. Like I had to really work with myself on this because my thing was, let me find a company that nobody knows about yet, and I'm gonna bet on it, and it's gonna be the next Netflix. Don't do that. Don't do that. Like, unless you're willing to do all the work, the PE ratio, the white paper, you're going to read the fundamentals, you're going to really dive in the way Warren Buffett does and spend your days reading about these companies and really understanding the nuts and bolts of it. Don't do that. Just buy the sure things, quote unquote. Okay, so all that said, moving on to Morning Zen. Yeah, Morning Zen. So I had something I wanted to read. I was reading this book today. It's called 7 Rules to 7 Figures. All right, 7 Rules to 7 Figures. I ran across it by accident. It was suggested by the Kindle app. And the author mentions the Marshmallow Experiment. I've heard several people mention the Marshmallow Experiment. So I Googled it. Basically, in the 60s, there was this scientist who decided to test kids. So he brought a bunch of kids into a room, one at a time, and he put a marshmallow on a plate. He said, hey, I got to go do something. If you eat the marshmallow, fine. But if you don't eat the marshmallow, when I come back, I'll give you another marshmallow. You have 2 marshmallows, right? Okay, so what do you think happened? Most of the kids ate the marshmallow, all right? As soon as he left the room, most of the kids ate the marshmallow. Then a smaller group of kids tried not to eat the marshmallow. And they were rocking back and forth and not looking at it and all these things, but ultimately they ate it. And then the smallest group of kids waited. And he was gone for 15 minutes. So that can seem like a long time. That is a long time when you sit in the room with nothing but a marshmallow, right? So anyway, so a very small group of kids waited the whole 15 minutes and then got 2 marshmallows. And this is about delayed gratification. So they practiced delayed gratification for a greater reward. And then they followed all the kids in the program later in life. And the ones who were able to delay gratification did better in everything. SAT scores, life, health, career, everything. So the study postulates that the ability to delay gratification, to suffer in the short term for a long-term goal, is a harbinger of good things, right? So it's an interesting experiment, and it's interesting to try to apply that to finance, because it's kind of like what I was just talking about. Like, you will be tempted, as I have been, and I've succumbed to the temptation to take the money out to take care of some necessary need right now. But if you can think of that money as just gone, as just, not going to take it out of the stock market, then it will greatly benefit you in the future. But you got to wait for it. You got to wait for it. It's going to happen in the future. And my alarm's going off already. I feel like the show just started. Okay, so yeah, delayed gratification. Find a way to practice delayed gratification in your life, because that will help you practice delayed gratification in terms of finance. So if you can do that in your life in some way, maybe you buy a bag of chips, but don't let yourself eat it, whatever. Figure out a way to practice delayed gratification in your life, because that will help you with the money. Also, as I said, Roth IRA, I feel like that's a really good move for artists and retirees. Okay, so abundance. So we got the same affirmation thus far. Oh, got another question. All right, Gladys. So Gladys saying, when you're pushing 70, should you think short or long term? Okay, so the honest answer is I don't know. Like, I'm still figuring this out myself. But what I've come to in terms of investing is you really need 2 or 3 plans. You really need a short term, medium term, and a long term. Or at the bare minimum, you need a short and long. Because as we're talking about buying and holding, that's a long term play. Now it's extremely beneficial, especially if you've got kids, as I know you do, Gladys, you got kids and grandkids. Like, you can pass on a significant asset. Like, let's go back to the AT&T autopilot. Like, that's going to autopilot and keep autopiloting for time in perpetuity. It'll just keep on snowballing and snowballing and snowballing. So as long as everyone knows you do not sell this, if everybody knows, then that could be a great benefit because it's a net worth play. All right, quick sidebar story. So one of the ways to think about buying and holding for the long term is in terms of net worth. Like, yeah, you can't spend that money because it's stacking, but the fact that it's stacking is still beneficial to you. There was this guy, stockbroker, he was out with his daughters and the car broke down. I might have told the story before. But anyway, he had to go to a car dealership right then. And his intention was to get the car fixed, but they said the car was unfixable. So he's like, well, maybe I can buy a car. He's like, and they're like, do you have any assets? And he listed his stock accounts, his brokerage accounts. And they were like, oh, you can have anything you want, sir. They gave him the keys to whatever he wanted, didn't even have to make a payment because they could see that the money is there. The money is there. So even though you're not using it, it's still useful to you. So that's that. In terms of the short term, I gotta say, all roads seem to be pointing to trading as the way to make money faster in the stock market. And as you know, if you've been watching the show, trading has made me very nervous, but I don't want to use the word easy. It's simpler than it is projected to be. So I haven't lost, quote unquote, lost the trade yet because I don't really know what I'm doing. So this is what I do. I signed up for Webull. When you sign up for Webull using someone's code, like you can use my code. When you sign up for Webull, they give you free stock. So to me, that's house money. I'm playing with monopoly money because it wasn't mine to begin with. So they gave me a stock that was a $4 stock. And I said, all right, I'll sell it for $4.25. Boom. It took a day or two. So I made $4.25 because they gave me the $4 stock. But I'm thinking about it as I made 25 cents. I made 5% on that $4 in a day or two. That's incredible. And then just last week, I did it again. I took 4 of the stocks that they gave me, right? And I sold all 4 of them this time. Instead of selling one stock, I sold 4, 25 cents each. I wanted to get 25 cents back on each stock. So basically, let me use numbers to make it easy. So let's say they were $3 stocks. I don't remember exactly. So I put in an order to sell them at $3.25. Right? Here's 4 stocks. I want you to sell all 4 at $3.25. And then you just set the program. Like, you don't sit there and watch the computer. You set the program and then you go off about your business. And then at some point I got an email that said, hey, your stock sold. So I made $1 on that because 25 cents 4 times. Like, that's incredible, right? So it's much faster than buy and hold investing. It's very different, but much faster and not as complicated as I thought it was. So all that said, in terms of age and stage, I think it's important to think about long-term play, like what's my long-term play, and then what's my short-term play. And then one more thing, it's important to write down what your actual goals are. Now, I remember when I first got in, people kept saying, well, what are your goals? I was like, I don't know. I don't know enough about it to have a goal. But if we've been dabbling in it now, as long as we have the past 3 seasons, we should have a sense of what we want to happen. Like, do we want income? Do we want monthly income? Do we want to take care of the kids or the grandkids? Like, have a sense of what the goal is, and that'll help order your steps. And look at that. I ran out my time just chit-chatting. So all right. So I think so far, season 4 is going to be more interactive. I see I got some more quotes, some more comments that I'll read after this. And I didn't even get to the other things I was going to talk about. I'll save it for tomorrow. All right. It's time for prayer time right now, and then it's time for Sit with Rev Melissa. And I will see you back here tomorrow for episode 2 of season 4 of the Be Your Own Hero show. Till then, keep doing. Be a hero. Be your own financial hero, most important. And remember that now is better than perfect in terms of investing. Don't wait. Invest today. All right. I'll see you mañana. Later.